Wow, what was in them?
Just some music, anyways. I don't really care because like it's not a strike, anyways. But
Alright.
I don't care about playing copyright music in these ones because like it's not gonna get me like kicked off YouTube or anything. It's just gonna not be able to like be played in Russia, and we don't have any Russian people here. I hope. Anyways.
I am part of Homeland of Mother Russia.
Anyways, so once again, we're going to start like this. In a land within the world of Turam. The world riddled by war and shattered through time. We find ourselves once again. However, not to the eastern reaches, like we usually would find. In Durath, normally. Instead, we turn our way westward. Past the mountainous hellscape of ash and dust known as Castilia, home of the tieflings and devils. Past the center continent of Demisnon, the one where it said the demon ward was sealed many, many ages ago. Past the now fully lapping the world floating isle of Draconia. Its wyverns fly past us. Over the deep black reaches of the Death's Door area within the peaceful sea. As midday comes to us, the sea itself is a beautiful aquamarine blue. Almost tropical in nature. As we fly northern from this point, we see a large continent surrounded by many different islands and floating islands above it. We see a beautiful mist pervades the land, shrouding it in some shadow. We see treetops bursting out of parts of this mist. We see large bluffs. We see to the westernmost area of the continent almost this steps of large bluffs and mountains that go upwards while the rest of the forest remains down to the west of these. We see the fog rolls over it and cascades down like a waterfall. Purplish grays within the fog. We see lights pulsing at different angles. We see birds flying in and out of the fog itself, disrupting it. And we see in the distance a large tree stretching up above the heavens, the clouds themselves. However, as our vision is pulled this direction, or pulled deeper into the fogged forests, closer to that tree, closer, 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 to a small divot in the forest, in this forest clearing. Trees, not really in this divot too much. It almost looks like a crater. We see a few bluffs to the side of it that are much higher, roots growing off of them from the bushes that are abundant around this area. We see wooden fence posts and old, overgrown pieces of furniture or even just stone walls. This is an old town, village, you're not sure. As we see, nestled within this small ditch, a town. Surrounding it, what would be a waist high, maybe, for an adult, wooden fence. Not one you would see in your everyday, like, normal life backyard fence, but posts every few feet, and then two large sticks that seem to be placed one above the other by 2 feet, by about a foot, and it seems to go across the entire area surrounding the town, mixed in with some ancient stone walls. Small walls, same size. We see 2 entrances to the east and the west of this town. They have these large gate-like structures, two poles, and this large wooden topping to it, a log. Hanging from each of these would normally be a sign, hanging by 2 chains. The streets would normally be not really existent. There's one main road in the center of town where the buildings are set to the sides, and a well in the center of it. People dance and cheer in this town. It's a very small village, sorry. Doesn't have more than a population of 60, 70. Sometimes it gets higher, but sometimes lower. Pretty quaint town. Though, the strange part of it is, this town does not have clear skies above it. Rather, the canopy from the trees growing outside of this ditch seem to push and expand into this almost dome-like structure of leaves and foliage above the town itself, almost caking it in night at all times. The stray moon or sunbeam gets through, allowing plants to grow here. Now, this is what it would normally look like. However, recently, as the fogs have rolled into the town within the last few days, the town has become something more akin to a burnt campfire, smoldering out. As the wooden buildings within the town, many of them left charred or broken down, peppered with arrows, strikes, stained with blood. The streets themselves, the dirt road, stained with blood, broken pieces of metal, weapons, and even some bodies still. Houses burnt to the ground or broken, very few left standing and intact. The chains that hold the signs that read the village's name, Oakage, left hanging by one chain as the wind blows them. The fey lights in the distance being the only lights left over as smokestacks rise from the recently burnt houses, and charcoal and ash fills the air. Injuries abundant to the populace of this town. However, only a few, the children, kidnapped from the town itself. The demeanor down. However, the village, I keep saying town, my bad. The village, not destroyed thanks to the help of 3 individuals, one of which was chased off to the capital by the others after the attack by bandits to get some aid and return within a few days. The other 2, one a catfolk-like individual tasked with an important mission to recover information from a man named Yavos, a dark elf who had chased the bandits as they fled after kidnapping the children, taking the hostages, to gather whatever information he had on them to report to the proper authorities once they arrived. The 3rd stayed in the village as a guardian of sorts. Would you like to describe your character so I can keep it in mind? Or for anybody watching this that I don't know how they got here?
Yes. A tall automaton, about 8 feet tall, has some rusted bronze on his shoulders and kneecaps. Well, what would be the kneecaps for an automaton? And grayed out steel for the most part that looks similar to plate armor around his chest, legs, feet, hands, and all the vital places. With orange eyes inside of him, wielding a shield and a sword. And modified hands to have hand cannons.
Okay. As your character, I'm trying to remember his name.
UCAM.
UCAM?
Yes.
As UCAM, you are in your state of rest, I guess you could say, the sentry mode that you have to take. The morning dew is hitting your face, almost in a hypnotic-like form. Make me a will saving throw, please.
Will saving throw. That is a total of 17.
17. As you sit there in your how should I say, century-based rest, standing in the middle of the town, your weapons to your sides, standing almost like a metal statue, a shrine of sorts in the middle of this town. As the morning dew hits you, a few leaves fall into you, the ash cakes your metal in a blackened, stained kind of way. You're gonna need some good polishing after getting out of this town. Your eyes seemingly dark and not colored in this state to anybody looking at you. Your surroundings seem to... You're able to tell your immediate surroundings in this state. And as you're in it, your will or mind, whatever it is, begins to shift a little bit. As the dew seems to caress your skin, you're reminded of the many years in your unconscious state that you could not switch out of, completely aware the entire time of the weathered condition of the lab. Well, not the lab, I should say, the shrine area you were in. When your master switched you off for, when your master had already gone where you could not follow. And over the years, as you stood there, powered down for quite a while, you remember the feeling of mildew and rain hitting you. It reminds you a little bit of that somber time. But as those memories pass over you, you eventually feel the power source in your chest begin to whir as the magical frequencies, the runes in your body begin to fire off, and you feel yourself able to move now. Your locked joints become free.
Rest mode, disengage.
As your eyes ver to life and they become orangish, you see the ruined town that you stand guard for right now. As oh, give me a second. Oh god, that went down the wrong pipe there. Oh. As your new friend, master maybe, Rankus, the catfolk, seems to have granted you the task of standing guard here while he goes to retrieve the Dark Elf. He is yet to return in the last day or two. You're not sure what will happen or what not, but you begin your patrols around the village.
Scanning for threats, rolling perception.
Yep, roll a perception check, please.
Where is that add-on? Here it is. Still need a 5e. Or not 5e, this one. 18 total.
18 total. As you're standing there and walking around the village, you begin your outside sweep of the perimeter, and nothing's catching your attention at first. Your mind starts to wander a bit, remembering the many different, how should I say, patrols you did for your previous master, and even some of them that you did in the previous village when Rankus reactivated you before you guys left.
Mm-hmm.
You begin to remember these, and you snap out of this memory immediately as you hear something flying. Well, the bushes move, and you look over to the right, holding out... You have a sword, right?
Yes, longsword.
Pulling out your sword and pointing it over there, you see a bird fly away.
Threat level 0.
It's at this point you detect from where the bird was a scent of iron.
A scent of iron. Curious. Iron smell. Moving towards smell.
Alright, so as you begin to push through the bushes a little bit past the village, past a few of the berry bushes. You see a small, not really clearing, but like maybe a few feet wide clearing, not much else. And you see, under a little bit of the grass, you see blood sprayed everywhere, deep red at the moment, and you hear the panting of some creature, obviously pained. The area is dark. I don't know if you have low light vision or dark vision.
Let me see here. Low light.
Low light? Alright, I'll have you make
Yeah.
me a perception check then.
Scanning. Dirty 20 total.
30-20. You see, under some of the foliage here, as a bit of rain at this point has started to pass through the canopy. Dripping. It's more of a sludge, similar to snowish. But it's warm enough on this continent at the moment, even though it is near midwinter at this point. Well, it's starting to get towards the end of winter, but near midwinter, we'll say. And that's the strange thing about this continent. Since you awoke, the seasons have changed a bit. But as the sludge hits you and you start to begin to walk through, you see what appears to be a ball of black fur with red coating its body. You see black leather around its throats and a single red gem in the middle of it. You see a wolf, currently bleeding out on the ground.
Scanning. Injured animal. Species identification. Canine. Breed. Wolf. Severity of injury. At a scale of 4 to 5. Chance of survival around 10 to 20%. Scanning protocols for options. Falls under Protocol 1 and Protocol 4. Protect the undetected. Scanning options. Not worth the effort as I start to pull out my sword to strike down the beast. As a sudden pullback comes. Emotional center. Damage. Emotional center. Compelling me to try save animal. Protocol 4. Kindness is not weakness. Engaging aid.
As you're saying this, there's a few arcane sparks as your head's jerking a little bit to the left. As there's this strange whirring noise around in your chest cavity. It switches from a to a... and then... as the whirring once again continues.
Do you want me to use the check I sent you or
Yes,
reroll?
we'll use the check you sent me. So, as you begin to... I would like you to flavor me the check, please. Just tell me what happens here, because you did roll a nat 20, so...
Yeah, looking at this wolf, I've noticed divisible injuries on it.
There are multiple stab wounds across its body. There seems to be large burns upon it, and it seems to have an underlying poison in its system that seems to be dying out at the moment, but it's still affecting it.
I use these things that the people have called bandages while bandaging up other civilians before to take care of its wounds. A little bit of my beaming eyes that aren't fully ready for combat to castrate the wounds so they don't bleed out, and mending and patching some as much as possible.
You got laser eyes?
I will soon for combat, but not for combat yet, but I'm going to have them. I would just say they're not fully working. As I level up, I repair myself more.
Yeah, I figured that was the case. So, as you begin to slowly bandage up this creature, picking a few of the natural remedies that actually seem a bit different than when you were last activated, but recently you've been learning a bit more about the floral changes to this place. You find a few that are similar to what you've seen before as medicinal herbs, and you start to you pull out your arm cannon very quickly and put the pieces in there, gather a little bit of the sludge from the rain, and start to mix a small salve in there. and as you do, you pour it down the wolf's mouth, and you see the effects of the poison start to diminish heavily. As you eventually, doing everything you can, the wolf seems to be stable enough, but you're not sure if it will survive out here by itself. It is unconscious at the moment still.
Looking at the wolf with protocol 1 under the an engagement, I pick up the wolf and take it back to the city where I can keep a better eye on it, and it's not the village where it's not being attacked by ever things that would take advantage of its helplessness.
Of course. So, as you walk back into the village, a lot of the populace here has been injured during the attack or is treating the injured, so not a lot of them are out currently. The ones that are look at you strangely as you bring this wolf in. One of them comes up to you. This, like, younger-looking, young-hearted, spirited, normal elf comes walking up. Hey, Tin Man, what you got there?
Injured subject. Falls under Protocol 1, protect the unprotected. Do you got any rope that I can use to have him on a leash so that he doesn't attack any of you? I understand the potential threat.
Well, a lot of our rope kind of got used when we were trying to tie up those individuals, and then, the firebomb happened. A lot of our rope's not really gonna work here. It's kind of burnt, charred, not enough to really make a leash, I'd say.
Understandable. I will use my own.
Do you know what kind of wolf that is? It doesn't look like anything we've seen before.
This would probably fall under nature.
You can roll me a nature check, yes.
No, wait. Actually, let me make sure that there's society, there's survival. Put the survival into.
It might be survival, actually. We'll check, though.
You're adept at living in the wilderness, foraging for food, building shelter, and discovering the hidden secrets, and tracking and hiding your trail.
Nope, it's nature.
Even if you're... Okay, it probably is nature. Yeah, about magical beasts and animals.
Yeah, it would be... You could either roll nature or arcana, your choice, I'll say.
I'll roll arcana.
I'll also allow you to roll lore if you want.
Sure, I'll roll lore, though a lot of it's a +4 from engineering.
That's fine.
I'm guessing.
You could use some of your engineering knowledge.
23 total. 23. I have a high engineering.
As you start to access the database in your mind, the magical one, you start to, like, kink together your hands against your head, and there's this sudden war as a database entry is activated in your mind. This wolf actually, though you've never actually seen it before in real life, like in actual thing, you've heard about it from your previous master who had mentioned the bygone era of an ancient version of Tyrellian, where beasts that wielded magical or elemental attributes existed, such as, let's just say, I'm just going to make up an animal right now, large earth turtles that could bend earth to their will, swimming through it like water, or even current knowledge to you. The closest thing that you knew of at this time would be the Dorathi Sandwell, an ancient-based creature, which can, similar to the turtle, swim through the land and steam people to death. However, looking at this creature, the databanks mention the name wasn't for sure. Your master called it a lightning wolf. Wolves that are able to bend and control an attribute similar to lightning, well, the attribute of lightning, to aid them.
Mm-hmm.
But many of those tales are like ancient tales sung like of fairy tales and stuff, like fae creatures. But you're looking at one and it matches the description that you've read.
According to my master, these were referred to as lightning wolves, though I have never seen one before
And I will say,
in
the only
person.
thing that made you not think of it at first was that this creature, though it is floofy, and you could see you could see like its body is definitely electrically charged because of the hair standing up on it in certain parts of it. It's the only thing that changed you from not knowing this at the beginning was because lightning wolves were said not to be completely pitch black fur. They were supposed to
So
be grayish fur, like very dark gray fur, but this one has midnight black fur.
the coloring on this particular wolf's fur is off. They're usually gray, but this is dark black.
I'm gonna have the man roll a lore check now.
I'm thinking it can be tamed and could possibly help out your village for a later time when I am not around to protect you.
Is that thing wearing a collar? And he looks over towards the leather strap around its neck.
It seems to be.
I want you to roll me a fortitude save, please.
Fortitude save.
As you stare.
Oh yeah, my best one.
Yeah, as you stare at the crystal in the center around the trachea of the wolf,
26.
you definitely sense a magical signature from it. And as you're looking down at it, there's this almost invisible pulse of magic energy that pulses out, and you feel the systems in your body start to shut down and lock for a minute as you like bend over for a second, and then re-stand up, your body unlocking.
I'm interesting magical pulse from the collar. I am going to proceed to tie rope to this creature so he does not try to harm any of you remaining, at least till he can be domesticated.
I think we have a building that's near, almost. We can't. Don't bring him into the hall. That's where we have all the injured people. Bring him into. He points over to one of the sides of the village, the western side, and goes, the one that you're coming in, he points over maybe like 100 feet from you and goes, bring him into that shack over there. And you see a shack that's like built up. It's like a small shack, 4 walls with like a slanted roof. That's only slanted in one direction.
We'll
Basically
do so.
We'll
do so. Thank you very much.
Of course, but that thing is out of control. I am expecting you to put it down.
I will do so if it seeks to harm you.
Of course.
Or the others.
Thank you. Anyways, if you're looking for anything, feel free to ask, alright? We'll see what we can scrounge up from the attack.
Got it.
As you make your way over towards the shack, you enter. It's a small shack with like a few pitchforks that are very old and rusted. Actually, no, they wouldn't have pitchforks because they don't have hay. It's a few like clippers and other things that you would use for shrubbery here, as well as a few like old hammers used for smithing things, like not like smithing hammers, but wood hammers with like a little bit of metal on them for like repairing fences or like repairing a bent out of shape tool back to normal. It's a small town, village. Sorry, I keep saying town. As you enter, there is enough space if you wish to put the wolf down.
I will do so, and I will make sure the door is... I will make sure he's tied to something, that way if somebody does open, they can jump back and not get attacked when he wakes up.
Okay. Easily enough, you tie him around the collar. Which is strange, it's almost like this, neck brace that medical professionals use, but it's black leather.
And I will
I'll
take...
ask this, do you touch the collar?
I don't touch the collar yet.
Okay.
I'm going to take a little bit of my rations since, well, I don't eat. And my water skin since I don't drink, and put in some type of bowl for the wolf to have food.
Okay, easily enough. You find a small metal, like, bent, not a buckler, but like a stud or something for like a large piece of machinery. And you just...
I will proceed to use my engineering skills to properly fix it.
I figured as much. You manage to bend it, and it's just easy enough. You just take one of the hammers and kung, 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 cut off some of the sharp edges, and you're fine. As you do so, you put the food and water down. What do?
I continue my patrols and then occasionally check the wolf up on the wolf to see if anything has happened.
The wolf would wake up the next day, is what you're figuring. So as you continue your patrols, you sense a storm brewing in the distance. Lightning strikes in the distance, and you hear a resounding strike of just lightning.
As I look out to the sky, severity of what can I see? I don't know if I have a passive perception in this version.
Just what's your perception bonus?
+5.
+5. Okay. Using a passive kind of like look around, just making sure you're keeping eyes out. If you're trying to determine the severity of the storm, it seems to be heading in a more westward direction, and it's to your north. So it's not really coming towards you.
Okay. Possible chance of not getting wet one more day. As I take a little break, go by the shed and polish off some of this rust.
As you do so, you start to see some, you polish off some of the rust, and one of your plates on your body is rusted to the point where you can't really fix it, so you kind of just rip it off and throw it down into the shed, taking another piece that you start to whittle away and work on. Go ahead and just make me an engine. This would be a crafting check.
Yes.
So you're trying to repair yourself from the damages you had sustained, as well as the rust and everything else.
Which I have a proficiency in, since this is classified as engineering, for a total of 24.
You haven't really gotten to like fix yourself up like from rusted, so like you still have rusted pieces across your body, but you're fixing up the pieces that would cause problems.
Yes. And that was a total 24.
So, as you begin to craft, you go into this almost trance, and your mind once again slips towards your past. You start to remember the large tower in the middle of the forest, sprawling with beauty and a little bit of a veil, but not much. The sun shining down and the moon overlapping it as you were created. The first view you see is a large balcony atop of a tower almost. The tower would be behind you. The top of the tower behind you, the shingles kind of getting into the very side of you as if you're peripheral. As you sit on this half-circle balcony of stone, as the moon overlaps the sun and the entire world goes dark for but a second, you feel the energy welling up inside you as your body begins to move a little bit, shifts, the metal sounds. You feel these cables attached to you suddenly burst with arcane energy into you, and you see your master, an elf. Though you can't determine his details anymore at the moment. His entire shape is almost shaded by this dark shadow cast upon the world by this solstice. You can just see the very vague details. His 8-foot figure, his flowing robes, mixed and mingled with a trench coat that has wrenches and different concoctions attached to belts and pockets. You can see his fingerless gloves that seem to have soot all across his wide open fingers and burn marks. That's all the detail you can see besides his large ears and the glistening smile as he clonks you on the head with his green eyes staring at you, and he goes, "Yes! Finally! Ah, oh, wonderful. Now, let's see if we can get you moving. And he starts to tear the plugs out of you. With each one, you feel the constant energy suddenly stop, and it starts to circulate within you, around your core. And he goes, "1 second, let me just..." And he opens a small compartment door on your chest, and you feel this weight suddenly give way as he goes, "Alright, now the inverted signature mark, it's working properly. Now, the power core, there's a few dents, I might need to make some it'll be fine for now. Now let's check the servos." And he goes in and he starts to mess with your body on the inside for a second. And he eventually closes the clasp and he goes, "Alright, I think you're fine now. Can you raise your arm for me?"
Arm would be raised.
You raise your right arm, and as you start to raise it up, you notice this is your first memory, and you realize he had just created you at this point. Your entire arm is just the skeletal structure. You see pieces of metal that resemble like forearm bones, and you see wires and cables interlocking and weaving around. You see these metal struts with arcane carved glyphs crossing being used as cross beams. And you look at your other arm, and it's very similar. And he goes, "No, don't worry about that. We'll settle those kinks out soon. I will. Either you'll grow some new. No, that's not how you work. Sorry, you're not a humanoid. You'll get new plates in a little bit. I just need to make sure you're working fine." Perfect. Nice. Wonderful. It works. All right. Let's. And he starts to move you and starts to push you as the sun begins to peek out once again from behind the moon. And he goes, "Let's get you inside, get you, get a few tests done." As he pushes you inside the building, you see the blue shingled roof of his mage's tower. As he pushes you inside, your vision comes back to you and you finish the plates you need to replace some of your own.
Long ago memory. And a monotone, sad sounding like voice. Recovered.
You still have rusted parts because there's not a lot of metal here to work with, but that one that was on your shoulder plate is now repaired a bit. You might need to get better metal because this is kind of like farm equipment metal, so it's like iron, but you'll be fine once you get to a city. As you stand
Acquire
up,
stronger metal later at city.
all right. As you stand up, what do you do?
I go in to check the wolf to see how it's doing.
You check the wolf, and it seems to still be sleeping, but this time its wounds are properly sealing themselves, so you have no worries about it. It's resting off its wounds at the moment.
Survival chance has increased by another 10%, it has seems. Breathing is stable.
As you exit the shed and go about checking the inner wall of the village now, once more, you swear through the canopy towards the east. No, it would be the west. Towards the west, you see a figure in the shadows, large, shadowed by the veil that overlaps the skyline. You swear you see something about it. Its form, you can't tell from this distance, but it's in the sky. And it almost sends a thought of fright through your mind. You're like, huh? And then the leaf blows in front of you and it's gone.
Rolling possible knowledge.
Roll me an Arcana check.
That is a 15 total.
15. You're not sure what it was. Its form did have a tail and wings, but you're unsure what the form could be.
I wish my master had properly updated my Arcana logs. 500 years of information missing ever since that great threat. No, wait, 450 years missing.
As you start to think back and realize and start to realize the 500 years in the past, you think the last memory of your master once again passes through your mind. The last memory. You've been exploring an ancient, not tomb, but an ancient cavern he had found. Something about a previous solstice where he had followed some ley lines. Your master was fascinated, interested in this ancient race of elves that he talked about constantly, that had apparently disappeared from Tyrelia and Turam long ago. Very few things, records of it, shows anything, and most of it's just tall tales, legends, fairy tales. But your master, he found something. And ever since then, after he created you, he had been focused on finding out anything he could about these people, these elves that had apparently disappeared. And on your last journey with him, through the cave, you had discovered, and that's when your memory circuits start to spark with arcane again, and it's almost like a fog fills your mind as you come back to reality.
Just so you know, the standby mode was when I was trying to protect the town, and my master passed away peacefully.
I know.
Okay, good.
That's the last like travel, like expecting to find this stuff, adventure kind of thing you had with him.
Ah.
Yeah.
Need to acquire the gems that he said would help recall memory if memory was too far gone. Need to acquire mechanical components for better voice box.
I will say, as you're trying to like push past that fog a bit before you're booted out, you do remember that your memory skips quite a bit, and your master seemed to, whatever happened in that cave, your master seemed to have changed his demeanor quite a bit afterwards. He doesn't mention anything about that adventure after that, and your memories continue as you remember.
I'm gonna roll a perception check to check around to make sure nothing threatening is trying to go after this village I'm guarding.
Sure thing.
And that perception check yielded me a total of 22.
Well, that random encounter check yielded me a total of 82. So that's a check. And that's the one I was not hoping. Anyway, so what'd you roll?
A 22 total.
22. So, in this state, as you were just autonomously walking around, trying to figure out what was going on, you suddenly come back to and start to look around, and you see, just at the edge, maybe 30 feet into the forest from where you stand, these large glowing pairs of eyes. Sorry, this large glowing pair of eyes with these two slits, one on each eye, almost like a lizard, staring at you.
Gaining knowledge. What check would that be?
Go ahead.
What check would that be?
It would be a nature check.
Alright. 17.
17. It's definitely lizard-like. You can't see many of its details at the moment, but it's definitely a large lizard. And your databanks start to go, large lizard, yellow eyes, it starts to this expanse of just knowledge starts to fill your mind, and you're like, no, it's not this, not this. And it's taking you a second to go through all this. And eventually you get beast, dinosaur. And you're like, ah. And then it pushes through, opening its mouth, ready to bite at you. And you see your databanks immediately recognize a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Threat level high.
As it chomps down at you, it's going to have a minus because it was seen by you. Okay. Definitely does not hit you. Does a... Actually, hold up, it might. It's going to be a -5 to that. Does a... I'm going to guess a 32 hits you.
Even if I raise my shield, yes.
So as you go to raise your shield a little bit, suddenly this creature bites you in the shoulder and throws you into a tree. You suffer... I'm going to say the tree halves your damage because it doesn't, like... It doesn't throw you far enough to, like, deal a lot of damage to you. And it usually does a grab, but I'm saying it's, like, just attacking you, trying to stealth on you, but you saw it. So it's like, oh, fuck, gotta do something. Give me a second, I'm doing some math. You take 13 points of piercing damage. As it
Holy shit, you do realize I only have 20 HP, right?
Yeah, that was halved already, by the way.
You do realize I only have 20 HP, right?
Yeah.
And that's total, not counting the damage I just took.
So,
how am I supposed to fight this?
You get thrown into a tree. I'd like you to make me a will save, please.
Alright. 30-20.
Dirty 20. As you get hit in the tree, your neck almost snaps, similar to like how you would kill a human if you snap their neck too far. But because you're not human, you're not a human, you look over to it and your vision starts to blur for a second. As your vision goes from an orangish kind of hue to a red, and just disappears. As you hear these sparking, whirring noises, and as your vision comes back, you see your sword plunged into the left eye of this creature, you holding onto its jaw, pulling it out, the creature and you covered in cuts and bruises. As the creature throws you to the ground, hits you with its tail, and continues to rush off into the bushes, faster than you can follow.
Damaged. Repair, damage.
Sparks are flying everywhere off of you.
Repair, damage. Severity. Severity.
I will say you are at 1 HP.
Actually, I would be at 7.
I know, but from the skip, from what you don't remember, you are very much more injured than when you got thrown into a tree.
Threat scared away for now. Cannot pursue. Seek heal. As I go back to the village and I use my engineering to start patching myself back up.
Roll me a survival check to return to the village, because as you look around, you are not in the area you started this fight.
27, not 27. Sorry, I meant to say 17.
17.
I wish it was 27.
Takes you a bit of time, and you have to lean against some trees at some points as your knee mechanisms lock up. As you continue to push through, you feel the magic, the arcane signature in your body has weakened dramatically, to the point where it used to feel like this burning flame, and it feels like an ember at the moment. Burning out.
Alright.
As you eventually make it back to the village and enter into the small shack, grabbing a few of the plates. Go ahead and make me a crafting check, please.
A total of 25.
25. You start to repair the outer damage. Your health doesn't regain at this point, but you repair the outer damage and some of your damaged mechanisms in your body. So you can now move around just fine. It's just that your body, this is the first time you've really felt it, is fatigued. To the point where you feel like you're about to pass out with every fast movement you make. You feel like you've to a normal human, it would feel like they've lost a lot of blood and like there's nothing, like they feel lightheaded basically, but like very, very dangerously lightheaded.
I don't know how that really works, considering it says I can't get fatigued.
It's not the fatigued condition. It's just the feeling of fatigue more than anything.
I will go to the leader of this village and ask him to post some guard around while I have to rest and I will explain to him the threat that I managed to chase off.
The village has no real guards. It's more there's hunters and everything, and everyone like is always like making sure to check everywhere. But recently, due to the bandit attack, a lot of the hunters and people that would normally technically guard the village were injured. And the leader himself was actually gutted and killed. So,
well, the closest one to a leader.
You enter into the medical tent, and as you do, you see cots lining the ground. You see some curtains hung up for people to have some privacy in the main foyer area of this great hall to an extent. And you see a few of the elven individuals walking around. You see this hot elf MILF who seems to be walking around. She seems to be telling people what to do at the moment, as she seems to be going over to some people administering aid. You go up to her, and she looks to you. Yes, how can I help you, dear?
If there are any capable hunters, I would suggest they be put on guard. I fought a recent... What was the name of the creature again?
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Tyrannosaurus. I managed to fight him off and chase him away, but I have acquired substantial injuries which bring me unfit to continue watch if another threat were to happen.
Well, thank you for riding away this Tyrannus, whatever it is. Go ahead and get some rest, and we'll put on some of the younger guys to watch the town.
I will attempt to recover as fast as possible and continue the guard duty.
Alright, is there anything I could give you, like some iron supplements to aid you? I don't know, you're made of metal.
Iron supplements can work, but I can also be affected by normal magical and healing means. My master has the foresight to have allowed that to happen.
She's gonna use detect magic really quick. Or a form of it these elves have. Okay, yeah. Huh. Strange. You usually have a higher magic signature. Here, and she starts to, she touches your shoulder and pours some mana into you. As she does, you feel that fatigue lifting a little bit, but not a lot.
Okay.
Get some rest. We'll watch out for you.
Very well. If anything comes to be too severe, do not be afraid to wake me up. My duty is to protect.
Do not worry, dear.
As I go sit down and I guess stand in some open space and go back into rest mode.
Alright, as you re-enter rest mode, you remember the town, the battle. You don't remember every detail about it. You just remember seeing dust kicked up. You remember seeing dark shapes moving throughout. You remember slashing and feeling the spray of blood hitting your body over and over again, rusting parts of your metal. You remember powering down, being conscious for a long time. With time came the dulling of your senses as you started to feel... I'm gonna skip this, I don't like this song.
What's going on here?
Solo session. You started to feel the
Have fun.
presence of the village around you diminishing to an extent. More and more and more as time grew. You started to feel your own senses waning as your field of sensing, basically, what was going on around you started to dull and shorten and shorten and shorten until you could only feel yourself. And you had feared towards the end of your rest that you would cease to be due to the magic dying out within your core, due to the time, the ages passing.
And the severity of the combat damage.
Yes. And for a time, you accepted it as a fact, as something that was just meant to happen. Your job, your occupation, finished. Hey. Cool.
Protocol, successful, protected, unprotected, struck greater evil as this rust mode happened. Successful. Kindness, not weak, is not weakness. Objective, successful. Protocol 5, live life.
Eventually,
Completed, question mark.
as you begin to question things, Jesus Christ, Mother, what are you doing downstairs? Give me a second. Okay, she just texted me. Anyways, as you begin to question everything, first, whether you've lived the life you wished to, whether you enjoyed it, as your vocal cues remained only in your mind, you felt a warmth. Give me a second, my mother wants to fucking talk to me or something.
Threat level, you're in danger. Hi, Ruby.
Wondering when why you would notice.
I noticed, but we were in the middle of the thing, so I didn't want to interrupt any of it.
I've returned. Sorry about that. My mom's hanging up a picture downstairs.
Alright,
So,
no problem.
as you're questioning, and the darkness begins to set in, as you're figuring this is probably your last year in this state before you shut down, you feel this warmth as something touches you. And you look, and you see the shadow of everything around you eclipsed by a warm, sunny light in front of you. A hand reaching down to your shoulder. Words you can't fully remember. Inspirational. I'll let Soup go ahead and tell us what those are whenever he can. Actually, let's see if he can join in.
Okay, then I can do the scene where I first met him.
Yes.
Good. Set up to where, to explain how the damage heals over rest, it's like a self-healing metal that managed to put itself back together over time. Yeah. Not like completely restored, but...
So Keegan, sorry, whatever your fucking character's name is, sorry, it's a new character, it's gonna take a little
UCAM.
So, as you exist in the darkness, and you're about to shut down forever, okay with this demise, but questioning whether you could have done more with yourself, whether this is what you wanted, whether you're happy.
And protocols were successfully finished.
Yes. Suddenly, in this complete darkness surrounding you, there's a warm hand placed on your shoulder as this light seems to almost eclipse the darkness that surrounds you, forming a sun almost like figure in front of you. And a voice rings out to you, muffled at first, underwater. However, it becomes more clear and clear the longer you try to listen and listen to it. Soup, You were staring at this automaton in this shrine of this nearly abandoned village, just rusting away, and it said something that sparked to you. It said, under its breath, protocols left uncompleted.
Question mark.
Question mark. Purpose fulfilled. Question mark. Soup. What did you say to this creature as you poured some mana into it to awaken it?
I wonder, how long have you been sitting there?
As you pour more magic into it. Automaton, you hear, how long have you been sitting there? In almost this heavenly voice. As you see these... Ronkus, what are your eye color again?
My eyes are a sort of glowy blue, but the glow is very faint.
You see these blue eyes begin to appear outside of the bright sun that you see standing in front of you. They're not the same color, but they have the same strange warmth and desire for knowledge in them as your previous master did. As he's staring at you, just staring down, he seems to be talking to you. Some of the words passing by your ears, but as you stare up at him, Soup, the automaton's face begins to rise, and with each inch it moves, you can see a resistance for its face moving upwards towards you, and you hear the creaking sound of metal bending and breaking, and you see rust starting to try and fall off. You see the vines that are tangled up inside of him trying to restrain his head from moving.
I guess I'll sort of take out my knife and try and just very gently try and cut them a little bit on just one side.
Alright, you're able to allow him to move his head up. At this point, you can see the very dim lights in his eyes, almost like embers of a campfire dying out in orange.
Sight. Returning. Scanning environment.
CJ.
Previous.
UCAM. As your eyes begin to glow a little bit, you start to see maybe 5 feet around you, and you see fur, a creature, touching you. This warmth passing through your cold, steeled body. A warmth you haven't felt since your creation. Pure divine magic pouring through you.
Substance pouring in. Divine magic. Scanning subject. Threat level 0. Seems to be aiding me. Cat-like person.
So you're alive?
It would appear so.
Well, you certainly seem to have been resting here for quite a long time. What is this place?
This place, as he looks around as the sights are turning.
Your sight, as it's beginning to return, the darkness, the fog around you starts to disappear. And Ronkus, as he seems to bend his head a bit, you can see the flickers in his eyes starting to burn and become brighter as this happens. You look around and you see jungle, a village swallowed by water, almost like a swamp. You see old, broken boards that seem to be covered in swamp moss. You see this gazebo-like area surrounding you. Ancient, rotted wood, vines, and other foliage growing. As you look around, UCAM, this is most definitely the same village you were once in, just looking at the environment and feeling your position, but it's changed much more than you remember. And you sense very few life signs. In fact, you only sense the individual in front of you and another somewhere off into the other part of the village. Far apart.
In Tumira village.
So this was
you
a
do not know
village.
you do not know the name of that village. You do not know what it is.
Well, that's certainly not a name that I recognize. Perhaps it's an ancient village? Maybe they simply lived here a long time ago. Uh,
Soup, I
what
will
was
say,
your purpose?
Soup, I will say this: your character at this point would know that there was no like known village in this swamp until you did not know there was a village in this swamp. Like there has been no mention from any of the cities or anything about villages being in
Yeah,
the swamp.
which is why I'm simply saying that there perhaps was an ancient village here that simply was lost to time.
Yes.
Ancient. Scanning. Degradation of town.
It is.
I'm not
going up.
entirely sure if you need to scan that. You can simply look around and see for yourself.
As he points, you can see the small stone buildings and wooden buildings sunken into the swamp water. The mud sucking in. You can see growth of different vegetation and floral items growing upon it. Plant life. You can see the buzzing of insects flying around. You can see toads on lily pads. Looking around, there is very few like remnants of the village. And from what you can see, the village itself, like, if you were not to get close enough, maybe a good 100 feet from the village, you wouldn't even tell it's a village. You could just tell it's, like, some stone rocks or something sticking out of a swamp, and maybe, like, a fallen tree. That's all you could probably see.
Degradation or degradation of town seems to have been around. Estimate. Math work as eyes are clearly glowing up and down. 450 some years worth of degradation.
Hmm.
This town was not a swamp.
Perhaps that may be true, but things change. The land has simply gone on without knowledge of anyone.
Before
but why
the
was it
bef-
lost?
Soup, the only reason you even came here was your powers have started to come in recently since you went to that nearby temple. You talked to a stranger about... No, I'll say you didn't even talk to a stranger. From that temple, you received a vision of sorts. A swamp. And a hut. At an old abandoned village long since forgotten to time. And as you approached that hut, you found an old elven woman who seemed to live here. Similar people have in this area talked about a witch or hag or whatnot living in the forest that eats children or drags them into the swamp to drown them. But this woman didn't seem that way to you, and as you explored the surrounding swamp village she told you to, you found this individual.
Well, certainly something was here, but it doesn't quite look like the hag that was mentioned.
as I start walking around,
As you begin to try to walk around, your foot is stuck on the ground. Your feet seem to be tangled in these long present vines, like hundreds of years. They've grown and grown. You're almost rooted to the ground.
engaging sword as I flip opens up the switch for the sword to pop out.
Now this is interesting. Soup, as you're looking at this rusted and degraded automaton who seems to be having troubles even moving at this point, you see him flip and he pulls a weapon out of a sheath he has. Where's the sheath at?
Say the sheath is like a retractable sheath that goes inside the leg and pops out for the weapon.
You see him. You see a small part of his leg pops out, and some compressed air pours out. A small mist, and he pulls this long sword out, and it is completely clean. No rust, nothing. That's because UCAM It is an airtight seal for your sheath. This clean, unrusted weapon comes out as he grabs it and strikes at his own roots that are rooting him to the ground, eventually freeing himself and taking a step. The stone underneath him cracks with his step since it's very old and probably has a lot of structural damage to it.
Free from entrapment. No need for sword. No threats determined back as I put it back into my hip.
I guess that's one way of dealing with it. Regardless, you certainly have been lost for quite some time here. Although, there's not really many other places to go. I'm staying at another village nearby, one that's mainly inhabited by elves. You are fine with elves, right?
I've been protecting them for over 80 years. My master, Ronis, was a great elven inventor of great repute.
That's certainly something.
He was ahead of his time and had designed me to be designated as the ultimate combat adaptation machine, or UCAM for short, as he had named me.
Alright, that's basic, I guess. You know what? Why don't we go to this village and perhaps one of the people that live there can give you a proper name? After all, one does not live in this world without something to officially call you by. I don't think calling you by this UCAM would be appropriate, seeing as there's little war going on right now.
Understandable. What is new? Ally? Possibly? In question mark. Name.
Oh, you may call me Rankas.
I will serve you as master since you have raven me this great debt of reviving me.
That's not necessary. I just simply found you.
You revived me by putting more energy back into me. Who knows how long it would have took for me to recover, if I would have recovered at all.
I guess that's true.
I appreciate the gesture and will do what I can to repay said gesture.
Alright, then.
But if it
I guess
interferes with other protocols, I will not comply.
that's understandable. How about this? I am a bit of a wandering soul myself. Why don't you accompany me? After all, it's a bit lonely traveling by oneself.
I could do that. Would you like to know the protocols to make sure they don't conflict with your actions?
Well, the only things I simply am against are forcing myself on others and interfering with one's own sleep. That's mainly it. Very little.
They do not seem to inflict with Protocol 1, protect the unprotected. Successfully engaged again. Protocol 2 does not seem to conflict, fight the greater evil. Instructions were vague, but Protocol 2 successfully engaged. Protocol 3, power, strike, gentle touch, does not seem to interfere. Protocol 3 successfully engaged. Protocol 4, kindness, not weakness. As you notice a buzz. Loading. Warning, memory link. Emotional center damaged. Rerouting successful. Emotional center deactivated. Protocol 4 not loaded. Disable protocol. As the face looks at you. Yes or no?
Could you perhaps repeat that again? You were going quite fast.
It's at this point.
Protocol
the
4
both of
kindness is
No,
not
wait
weakness.
for Schmuck to say his thing.
As you're continuing through your protocol once more, there's an explosion from the direction you came from, Soup.
Oh, that's not good. That is not good. Not good. I'm gonna start sort of hurrying in that direction.
All right.
Protocol 4.
We can worry about that later.
Understandable. Protocol 5. Live life. Unknown. What meaning that is.
Ignore protocols for now. Follow me.
Are you sure?
Follow
I
me.
follow.
Yes.
As you guys make your way through the swampy village, I'd like you guys to make either acrobatics or athletics checks for me.
All right.
Jumping from rock to rock, from old rotted plank to log.
Okay, this is a... Holy crap, that was a nat 20 for 25.
Nice.
As I quickly start regaining my footing after 450 years or so of...
You slowly take off this, like, bird's nest that has, like, built itself on one of your shoulders and put it on a rock as you're running.
Yes.
I am using my previous level bonus, not my current level bonus, right?
Protect life. Protocol
Okay, so
1.
I will do that math myself.
Protocol 1. Protect life as I put nest down.
That is the total of 20.
Okay. So, as you're both rushing through this small, old, abandoned town, trying to avoid some vines that seem to be reaching out and trying to grab you just, like, naturally, you manage to eventually get towards a large, rickety, old, falling apart, almost pier that seems to lead up to this lifted stilt house of rotting wood. Or what it was, Soup, when you last saw it a few minutes ago. Now you just see a charred, burning part of its wall exploded out, a few of its walls, with very few of its supports remaining on the inside. A hut, and you see, as the fire burns, these shadows moving very quickly in the middle of it, 2 of them. And you hear the sounds of metal tearing through flesh.
No, that's not gonna good. You head that way. Make sure that you find anyone that is being attacked. Protect them. I will help others in this direction. All right?
Engaging Protocol 1. Emergency authorization.
Yes.
Overriding.
I will say, the only place that you saw combat at is in that hut.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
basically pointing him towards the hut. I'm running somewhere else.
Okay.
I'm running into the hut. Engaging emergency use of protocol, potentially protocol 2. And
Okay.
protocol 3.
As you make your way up with that fucking insane roll, you eventually get there fast enough. You break in through one of the doors of this small little rope ladder, like staircase that seems to spiral up to the front door. As you push through the wood breaking under your feet in some places, you eventually get to the front door and push it open. And the first thing you see is this elven lady dressed in these long, clothed, ragged, like, robes that seems to be wielding this gnarled staff, pointing her long, decrepit fingers at another individual at the back of the room, as she seems to be finishing casting a spell when a dagger goes flying and just hits her in the eye, and she falls back onto the ground. As you see, stepping out from the shadows between the fire, an individual in this long red, no, it would be a silver, yeah, it would be a silver-colored trench coat that seems to be torn and burnt in places. He seems to have this hat that comes to a triangular-like point with these rigid, fin-like edges at the very top of it, similar to the Bloodborne hat. As he comes walking out, you can see there's a scarf around his face, around his face, and you can see heavy padded cloth underneath the trench coat. You can see bandoliers of different weapons, daggers, potions. You can see this large belt, and he seems to be wielding a single long sword in his hand. Sorry, no, actually he would be wielding a rapier in his right hand, and his hands are gloved with these heavy-looking, thick gloves. As he comes walking out in his boots.
Halt, stranger! Threat detected! Weapon gets wielded. Fists get wielded out.
This is none of your business, Automaton.
Murder is against the laws of this town. Even though town is destroyed, murder is wrong by the laws of this nation.
Wouldn't it be more appropriate for him to simply be referred to as machine?
True. Well, Well, machine, by the laws of this land, I have right to, kill this person or take them in. I am a witch hunter of Tyrellian, and you are interfering with official business from the king of Tirok.
King, new king. I have not been booted out for a long time.
Give me a second to look up his fucking name. I don't think I
As
actually
I-
made him yet.
As I roll down my fist, clearly in a non-hostile position no more.
King Leodel, 400 years ago, he, actually, no, it would be 400 years ago, yeah. 400 years ago, he and his brothers ousted his father, King... What the fuck was the name here? I come up with the fucking weirdest names, I'm sorry. King...
And usually I make weird names.
King Moroccan, of the Moroccan bloodline, and took over Tyrellian. The bloodline that's been in charge for over 500,000 years?
Forgive me, sir, but I have just recently been activated nearby the village over there as I point towards what used to be a village. And I say, what used to be, apparently, the village has been degraded by the swamp.
Well, then you should mind your own business, as he starts to step towards the lady again, who now stands up and points her hands, and you see this lightning bolt just shoot towards him. He pulls his weapon out, and you can see this magical aura appears around it, and he just, Count Dooku basically blocks it Yoda blocks it basically to the right, and the lightning seems to absorb into the rapier, and it seems to coat the rapier as he sends it back at her. The lightning's coming back. What are you doing?
I'm scanning protocols, protect unprotected, fight greater evil, but this is law of land. Searching
UCAM.
Results.
As you're searching, there's suddenly this, error window in the corner of your vision, and as you're looking down, the blood on the ground from this old woman registers in your database. A member of the village that you protected a while ago. Old and decrepit now at this point. So, what are you doing?
Scanning possibility of deception and man.
The
You
man
can
is
be.
not deceiving.
The man has protect, but law. Protect, but law.
Reflex save for her. The woman gets shocked by the lightning as she gets knocked unconscious onto the ground, and the man keeps approaching very slowly. What are you doing?
Do you have documentation proving, sir? I don't mean to be rude.
He
Can I
completely
run up
ignores you and
behind-
keeps approaching the woman.
Can I run up behind him and throw a star knife at this man?
Sure. You run
All
up,
right.
seeing this, and go throwing it.
All right, how far away is it? Assuming I am standing basically outside the door.
30 feet.
All right, that means I have to roll with a -2 penalty on this because
Okay.
that's outside the normal thrown range of this weapon, which is the thrown range of 20 feet. So let's roll a d20. I'm just going to take off 2. And an extra 1 because it's low level. That makes it a total of 26.
He's gonna add a D4 to his AC. As a
Using-
reaction.
Using logic. Man refuses to show proof. No proof.
So-
No proof.
As the star
And-
comes flying at him, you see him try to dodge out of the way, and as it's coming towards him, he hits it. But his rapier, having gotten struck by lightning recently, suddenly snaps in half, and the star hits him straight in the right eye, and he just
No proof. No proof.
and he starts to stagger
Attack.
backwards.
Attack as I roll to slam my fist into the man.
All right, you run forward and go to make an unarmed strike. Go ahead.
I asked for proof. No proof. As I roll a total of 30-20.
Dirty 20. Yeah, that misses. So as you go to strike at him,
But
he...
I
ahead.
do have a second action to attack
Yeah,
again.
give me a second. Okay, go ahead and roll again. Yeah.
As I roll again, second attack with -5 or minus a bit of hits. That one hits as a 21.
Misses. Actually, technically, he
Attack.
doesn't have his rapier out anymore because it's broken. So yeah, no, that hits.
Does the first attack hit then? Because that was
No.
a higher hit rate.
No,
Okay.
it wasn't. You said 20.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
Yeah, you said
That
20
second
total.
attack does 8 damage total.
Okay. Sure.
And then I will attack again with for sacrificing a lower hit, much lower hit. Okay, I highly doubt an 11 hits.
So you go to strike at him as he's holding his eye, and he sees you still holding his now broken rapier. He takes it and just jabs it into the side of your arm you come at him first with, and he hits in between your armor plates and just sends your arm flying to the other side. But using that momentum, you spin around and just backhand him in the face. As his jaw goes flying, his scarf starts to rip a bit, and you go for a third strike, but you seem to slip on some moss, and it just whips so. Actually, no, you go to strike, and he seems to dodge downwards, brings his rapier and blocks your strike a bit, pushing it up.
And that would end all my actions because I don't have any more actions.
As he pushes it up, you see that he pulls out a crossbow from his left hip and just fires it from the hip. So he's not gonna have his dex bonus to this because you're within range to him. Oh god, that's still a good hit. Technically he doesn't have his dex bonus, so does a 21 hit?
Not when I raise my shield.
So as he goes to shoot you, your shield is just pulled out just in time to deflect the blow, and he goes, fuck! Backs up for a second, pulls the sword, and tries to get out of his eye, but realizes it's stuck. Finally manages to break it out with another action, throws it to the ground, sees what's going on, and throws a smoke ball on the ground. As the smoke clears, the man is gone. Now, unless you guys would like to roleplay, I could go ahead and start talking.
Fred seems to have disappeared.
Yes, I can see that. For the time being, as I walk over and pull out my star knife, it seems that whoever it is responsible. It looks like they may be bandits. We have to protect them. After all, freedom is only great when one is alive.
Man has the drip and you call him a bandit.
Recalling information, man stated that he was part of a witch hunting squad for this king. I do not recognize the king's name, but I was given protocol to follow law, but man refused to show documentation, so that provided enough leeway for me to protect unprotected as I point towards the witch.
I'm just gonna walk over to the automaton, holding my star knife in hand, but like in my fist. I place my fist on their chest with the knife sort of around my hand. Laws change. You've been asleep for hundreds of years. Those laws likely don't apply anymore.
I'm hoping I have not broken new law.
Well, we'll see about that in the future. Alright?
Alright.
Now, let's see if we can save any more lives.
As you both manage to bring the old woman back to health, she thanks you, says it's good to see you again, UCAM, back and moving, hands you a small handheld mirror, and says to be on your way. More people like that will be around soon.
How likely do you think that the man will remember to pursue me if he states his intentions, if his intentions were actually true?
It's very unlikely, as seeing as you are no real threat to him. You just got in his way this time. The witch hunters do not kill if it does not necessitate it. They may come back again for me if the contract they actually have is agreed upon by the Master of Bounties in Tirok. But if not, then I should be safe. But I would recommend you not stay and find out, as that one man is not the only witch hunter.
I helped defend the village while you were here. What happened? Which magic used to be okay to be used from what my memory banks can recall?
Oh, it is still... I still have villagers from other villages come to me and wandering souls looking for aid, but recently, with the death of the crown prince and everything, they've kind of, as you say, have banded together, or grouped all dark arts together with necromancy as unsafe and deadly and destructive. Well, people have, not the law. So, when somebody thinks I am practicing necromancy or the dark arts, they always think necromancy. And then they hire a witch hunter, even if it's not on the actual books, to come get me. This time was the closest they've got. Ooh, and she seems to open up her robe a little bit and takes the broken rapier, and you see she puts it in, and you can see multiple badges, and now that you're looking at it, you realize this was a badge the witch hunter wore as well. You see about 7 other of them in her coat.
What happened to the village during the past, I'm guessing, 450 years?
It's been about 510, actually. But after you saved us, your magical core, when you shut down, kind of sent out an explosive wave of magic. And that wouldn't have been too bad for the village had it not been upon a solstice, one that's enhanced magic due to the blue moon. Your magic seemed to flood the area, seemingly rising old underground well springs of water that seemed to rise to the surface and start to flood the village. And over years, about the next 10-20 years, villagers began to move out when it became more swampy and hard to live with. I think I was the last one to live here, actually. I think the last individual that moved out was about 30 years ago. 30 years after your decommission.
Did anyone get hurt in the explosion?
Oh, many people, yes.
So I failed Protocol 1.
Oh, no. That was not on you, dearie. Trust me.
So Protocol 1 success.
I would say so, yes. Well, it's great to see you moving and kicking. I need to clean this place up and get ready for a possible second assault. You should not be here for that. You have done your job here, dearie. Go where you need to go. See what you need to see. Learn about this new world, but, my baby, go.
Do you need me to help clean up?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Very well. Thank you for your assistance in fighting Rankus to check on me.
No problem, dearie. Oh, and Rankus.
Mm-hmm.
Your magic is out of my ballpark, as I said. And your magic is has very little knowledge to the public. But it comes from a source of good. And the more good you do in this world, the more you will find its trained and useful to you, rather than fighting you.
Do you know perhaps where I could find some answers?
You need to be careful where you look, but if you're looking for quick answers, and you're not afraid of consequences, you can ask in the capital of Tirok. I hear that's where they bring all the divine mages they find in the, give me a second to look at my notes here, let's go to Ruby, because
The lady
Oh,
starts
sh-
pulling out an iPad and starts scrolling
While
through
she's
it.
looking at her notes, I'm just gonna start cleaning things up and see if the rapier was dropped. The
uh,
damaged rapier.
in from the the Magnus inspection. As you look around, the bottom half of the rapier was taken by the guy when he disappeared, and the top of it was taken by the old lady who picked it up.
As I clean up any other mess, activate my scrubbles to clean up blood.
She goes, but if you're looking for a more safe option, I hear there is a seer to a barbarian tribe to the west of here, near the foothills of the steppes. One of the districts not very well traveled by the individuals around here. I hear they have a number of kitsune that exist with them. You know, those that the church believe were created by Celis, the goddess of the moon, and they have an innate amount of divine magic in them, similar to you.
As I interrupt, Kensine also tend, especially the female, to have very possessive capabilities if they tend to like you.
Yes, but I don't think that's what this young individual is looking for.
Young, I'm 25.
Dear, I am 520.
Fair
Same.
point.
She says that, and I just go, same.
Well then, that mirror should help you in the future. I don't know how quick it will be. As a quick little tutorial here for you, should an enemy use a powerful spell such as lightning bolt, like I used, you can, if you're quick enough, you can use your abilities to bring the mirror out and reflect it back at them. Of course, this is based upon your understanding of the arcane. Basically, as a reaction, you could try to use it to reflect a lightning bolt spell, but it's a contested arcane check against the person who's casting it.
As I clean up more as she's talking.
Yeah. You find old jars of, like, pickled eyeballs, hands, stuff like that. What you would find in a normal hag's den, but this doesn't seem to be a hag. It just seems to be a woman who knows dark arts and magics. You find a few staffs and wands in her possession.
If they fell to the ground, they would be picked back up and put on the table and organized.
Well, anyways, you should really get going. I don't want you to be here. For too long. You understand.
Understandable. I have cleaned up the place during discussion. That way you don't have to worry about it.
I will reach out to some of my contacts in those tribes, if you are planning to go to the capital soon, of course, to see if they can tell me anything or if I can get any information from you. So please do check back sometime within the next year.
And after suddenly waking up, ma'am, it appears my voice box has been damaged, so I have been restored to default. Do you happen to know where I can get the gem called Sapphire to be ground up, metal components, and the magical core, or to make the magical core to fix the voice box?
You know, I do not know where you can get all of that stuff. I would check Tirok, the capital city. However, if you are going to Tirok for the capital city, there is a court mage in the palace who has recently been risen to the position after the last one was determined to be a lich's risen entity. Her name is Oyezia. She is a master at abjuration and actually a very, very grand inventor, and kind of a maniac who looks at the stars as well. She can be a bit of a personality, but once you get used to her, she is an excellent mechanic. In fact, she did fix my telescope for me quite a few years ago when it was not sunken into the swamp.
Ulrez, as the robot's clearly trying to pronounce the name.
Oyezir. It's Oyeszzir. But it is pronounced Oyezir. She is a wonderful mechanic.
Z.
Description of
Pardon, miss,
female.
but isn't it pronounced Z?
How about you go fuck yourself, Rankus? Isn't it pronounced rank ass?
Sorry, master. It was kind of funny.
Well, I come from a different part of the land, so it's reasonable that I would have a different pronunciation. So this is an in-character question.
And she said that to you in character. I'm not fucking with you.
Yes, I figured as much.
Anyways.
What is the description of this elven female? Hopefully they're as wonderful as you.
She is tall. She has these long ears with silk platinum rings that float around them. Beautiful white hair and skin. You can see the tinge and twinkle of starlight in her purple eyes. And she is usually in her lab, which has inverted gravity, and seems to always be working on a new project. You can find her in the palace of Turam.
Perhaps she might be able to help me with the voice box components.
Probably. Anyways, you should get going. Go, go, go. And she just brushes you out the front door.
Might as well just get out.
Yes.
Bye. I will acquire hand cannon ammunition along the way. Have a wonderful day, ma'am. I hope you manage to survive as long as possible.
I will say, as you're leaving, she goes, "Oh, and this thing is burnt to all hell, so I don't need it." And she pulls, like, this nice, fine, embroidered red velvet, like, rug out that has, like, these golden trim around it with tassels on the end that has a large burn hole in the middle, and she just throws it to you as it's rolled up. Take it! I don't need it!
Thank you. As we walk out.
Okay. So, as you walk out and begin your journey southward from the bog, towards the town once again, you eventually get to the town, the bandit attack happens, and after your return, Rankus returns, seemingly carrying Yavos, seemingly fighting against some wolves. Eventually, one of the wolves is disintegrated, but the other one is injured, and Rankus manages to keep it alive through some medicine checks. And then a night passes. UCAM. As you go to check on your wolf, it seems to have eaten through its supplies that it got. It's just staring at you as you enter.
I sit down. You seem to have been recovering. I know you fully can't understand me. As I give up more rations.
As you do, it takes them, and it starts to eat, and it's just staring at you with its red, dark crimson eyes, which you can see just this almost ethereal lightning storm of just sand and red lightning jumping around on the inside of his eyes.
And I give it more water in the makeshift bowl.
Okay. I'd like you to make me I think it's nature. Let me check.
I think so too.
Isn't there? It might be in nature, but I'm fairly certain there might be an animal handle skill.
There's not.
There's not.
What's the closest we get?
Nature or survival would probably be the two closest.
Yeah, train animals. Okay, so nature check, please, for me.
The nature check was an 18.
18? I'll say over the course of the day, if you would like to try and tame this wolf, you can make 2 more checks.
Alright, I am going to try to tame this wolf.
Okay. So you start to give it food, water, start talking to it a bit, and just sitting around with it.
The first check was a 17.
Okay.
And the second one was a 19, and that is shocking considering I have a 0.
That's funny because you succeeded twice. So, actually, you need to get 3 in total. So I'll say go ahead and roll another one as you stay up later into the night for this.
Same as the last one, 19.
All right. So, as you stay up later into the night and start to brush the wolf, it seems to get more comfortable with you being there. And for the moment, it's not a trusted companion. It's still weary of you, but you get the feeling that it'll aid you if you need it to. However, I will say Soup's character Rankus would have mentioned this to you and helped you get the collar off of it.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure Rankus would have told you that the collars are used to control these wolves.
I would have mentioned something that whatever is in control of these wolves is being done so through the collar.
Interesting. So removal of the collar will fix this control issue.
Perhaps it may.
I will seek to gently be
I will
nice
say
towards the
this.
wolf and remove the collar.
UCAM, you could either try to remove it or try to overpower the command and take command yourself.
How would I overpower command?
Arcana.
Through some kind of magic,
Yeah,
yeah.
you'd be using the magic in your body to try and force it into the collar to overwrite the signature.
I will attempt to overwrite the signature before removal.
Alright, roll me an
'Cause
Arcana
then-
check.
The only untrained skill I actually have a bonus in
I'll
for
say,
a total-
Rankus, are you helping him in this or no?
for a total of 20.
I would assume he's doing this whilst I'm still getting medical attention,
Yeah.
so...
So what'd you get?
For- Total of 20.
You try and you feel like you're overriding it, and then you feel this heavy presence that just boots you out. And you're like, okay, this is under control by someone more powerful than I.
Removal of collar. Remove control over collar. Unsuccessful. Attempting to remove collar.
You remove the collar successfully, and over the course of the nights, as the sun begins to peek up through the sky, you eventually meet up with Ronkus at the at the stairs leading up to the Great Hall, or the basic, like the hall of the... It's basically the government building, the main building of this area. That seems to be the only one really still standing. And as Rankus is starting to talk to this MILF elf that he's next to about heading westward, and she hands him a note that was left by Yavos to them, you see on the bluff to the east of the village 2 carriages, and you see Zeus's character, the cowboy, take his hat off, and he just starts to wave it out the window as they're approaching you. They eventually park their carts in front of you, and he goes, "I brought the cavalry!" And that's where we end your session.
Before we end the session, I will say, I will name the wolf companion Monstep.
Stepmon.
Monstep.
Stepmon,
Like
what are
Mondstadt.
you doing?
No, it's like the Mon at the end of Pokemon.
I know.
Digimon,
Yeah,
Bakugan.
and like Mon and Mondstadt.
So basically, Mondstadt is just a basic wolf, but with lightning abilities. So I'll send you those abilities soon, and I'll just like basically make the... I don't know how to make the shit for Pathfinder 2e, so I'll just add some shit onto it. But anyways, that's the end of the session. Gonna stop the note recording.